Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome to the second part of my personal project here on City Skylines. So, since we were last looking at this, I have done a little bit more work, nothing too substantial, but I have expanded it with a couple of new little areas, and also I've been busy working on the railways, trying to get those implemented a little bit better. So, speaking of, we'll start with the railways. You can see the first major change is that we actually have a slightly built up area over here now. Still a lot of work to do over here. I have started to put in the basic sort of framework for a road network to go in over here. So we had that weird little coastal road that was really kind of angular and was there as a temporary road. That's now been taken out with this dual carriageway that then links into our boulevard that runs through the centre of our sort of nice exclusive area over here. That's now in a nice, smooth, well-defined road that runs through here. And then we've got this kind of cross piece here, which is going to be the kind of the backbone of this area. And then other roads will obviously branch off from this. I've dropped a courthouse in, as you can see, just next to the station. And then the station itself, that hasn't changed, but I have changed the track network a little bit. So before we had the first couple of lines already allocated and stuff going off on them, and I had also got trains going off in that direction over there across the river. Now the stations are still there, so you can see that that station is still there on that external connection, and that one is still there on that external connection, but all the other track has been ripped up, and that may well get removed. And I've just noticed a wrecked ship. I've never seen that before. That's really cool. I've never noticed that before. I might have to make that a feature if it's within my map boundary. It is. That's as far back as I can go. So that's within my map boundary, so I can actually do something with that. Maybe turn that into a little touristy feature. That's kind of cool. I like that. Where was I? Oh, yes. So, I ripped up all the track because it needs to be completely reworked. And I'll get to that at some point in the future. But it's going to be a while, I think, before I come out this way. So, that's why I ripped them up. I have plonked in here a ferry / bus terminal. So you can see here, this is where the ferries will come and dock, and then we have bus terminals on the outside. Just playing around with this at the moment. I'm not looking to implement ferries anytime soon, but I will have one that kind of crosses from one side of the river to the other, you know, going down the river in the process. I don't know if this building will stay here. It might just get replaced with a standard ferry dock instead. I'm not sure yet. And then down here on the other side, this is a typical ferry dock here. So a bit more straightforward with these pillars on stilts as part of that. So that's more likely to what's going to go up on the other side rather than that bus terminal one. I don't know yet. We'll see. I haven't implemented any bus networks yet either, so that might happen. It might not do. I don't know. No progress on the farm over here. As you can see, the ground is still completely trashed from that earthquake I suffered. But I have built a farm, and I'll show you that in just a moment. As you can see, though, if we go back to the railway over here, I have got two lines that are fully connected and running, and I do have trains running on each of them. So basically, I swept these around here, and I did quite a bit of terraforming to kind of flatten the ground out a bit so the tracks could stay nice and level, and then create, you know, little islands around them. So you can see the height where the hill used to be, and then how I've also flattened that a little bit and terraformed it here up to a uniform height. So instead of having this sweeping hill, I've now got a much more sudden hill, which is what you want when you're placing, you know, tunnels like that. So trains go into the tunnel under there, and then they whiz all the way through, and then they come out just here. And remember I was talking about putting these into a tunnel entrance. Well, here is that tunnel entrance just there. And then those lines run straight underneath the freeway as they did before, and then they kind of stopped about here, somewhere just about there. So I've reworked them ever so slightly, as you can see. I've now shortened the straightness of one of those lines and sent it off that way. And then this line now comes out and goes all the way along there. So we follow this one first of all. This is I call it my coastal railway. My coastal line. So there are two trains running on this route, one of which is this sort of lime green one here, which is closest to us. This lime green one runs this station and then the next one, and then goes back to the central station. So it's a shuttle run to the centre of our city area, or what will be the centre of our city area. And this, as you can see, is just running very nicely along. Like I say, I call it the coastal because the river, so the sea is right there. So this is my coastal railway. I like this. And then it pulls into a station just there. That is going to stay there in that position. And then also I'll build up a little area around that, and I'll either have... I'll probably have bridges going over the railway for this one. But in other areas I might well have level crossings. We'll have to see how that goes. And then the other one that runs this line is this darker green train here. So we'll follow this train in a moment, because this will show off some of the other changes that we've made to the network. So if I just follow this train, like so. And I have terraformed the ground around here ever so slightly, just to try and keep it reasonably smooth. So it's mainly on the entrances and exits from the station, just so there's no sudden, dips or rises as we approach the station itself. Just try to smooth that approach area out. But the rest of it's pretty much as standard, so there's no sudden jumps up or down in height going in or out of the stations. It's much more gradual now, much smoother, much more realistic in terms of the gradients. And there you can see there's another station over there, so I will take you a tour on that line in a moment. So the line comes in over here, and then it peels off just here onto this connecting line, which then runs around through here. You can just see the basics of a farm there. I'll come back and show you that in just a moment. And then joins up to our original connection just here, and then obviously heads off, and that joins to our coastal railway, our port railway station just over there near the passenger docks. So yeah, basically, where is my railway? I've lost it. There it is. All I did was we had this connection that kind of joined here, and then that red train there, that was the original line, and I basically built an adjoining line for the secondary train to go out to the left along this point here. Now I did just have a single connection running and then split it somewhere about here, and then had two lines from that point onwards, but I decided to actually have two going all the way back to the connection to the to this point just here. I just think it works better at that location. I haven't seen any cargo trains running through for a while actually, so I'm wondering if it might be because I've screwed up my external connection. I haven't got one anymore, which is why I haven't seen any cargo trains running. And I don't have any industry or any other cargo terminals anywhere else yet. So there's nowhere for cargo trains to run, which is why I haven't seen any. But all the cargo is being brought in and shipped out by boat. So that's all that there. So these, as you can see, run along here. And then we have a third train, a fourth train, because that is three, and that's another green train. And the colours aren't, staying as those. They will all be changed in due time. But I want to get everything up and running first. So you can see this is the green line here that runs out this way, and this runs to my other two stations out this way. So I've got this one just here, and then we've got a tunnel entrance just here, because it's quite a big hill that's in front of us, and there's no easy way to get a train realistically up and down a hill of this size. So it basically just goes underground and then comes out here at this point here into this station. eventually. There it is. And then that will disappear. Now, I did put it at that angle because I was toying with the idea of maybe running it round and connecting up to this one in a loop, but I decided against it. I'll keep them separate. So I have just one train running that line at the moment, but I do plan at some point when I get my external connection back up and running, if I go underground for a moment. There we go, you can see the lines running underground here. They run very parallel, and because they're so close together, you can't run a track between the two to link them together. There's just not enough space. But what I do plan on doing at some point in the future is when I do get one of my external connections up and running, is then linking in to this line here, so that I can get some red passenger trains running out to these two stations over here. That's a little way off yet, though. So that's the railway and the changes for the railway. I'm having real problems with the water levels over here in my reservoir, trying to get them to stay balanced. I might need an extra one of those. You can see I've named it now. So we had Florence Hills. That was just a randomly generated name, and I decided to just stick with that and call this Florence Hills Reservoir. And I just zoned basically the reservoir itself, and you know, the road around it. So that road basically there frames that district, which is the reservoir district, and it's just the reservoir. That's it, and the pumping station. So, but ever since I put in my other water feature, which I'll show you in a second, it's played merry hell with the water levels in here. So they either rise too quickly or they just drain too quickly. And it's been very hard to try and keep maintain a constant water level in here. So I really need to have a rethink over this area. I've tried it with one pump, with two pumps, with all four of these switched on, with only 3 or 2 switched on, and it doesn't seem to. No matter what I try, it either drains too quickly or it rises too much, and I end up flooding the area out. So yeah, that needs a bit of work. Still got some more testing and playing about to do with that. But I have been busy, as you can see, building a new district. This is it. This is the new district just here. So basically I brought a road that loops around the back of this hilltop here where that river is. It runs into the reservoir. And then basically just created a nice big open zoned area over here. So you can see I've got little bits of commercial dotted around in there, but it's mainly just a residential district. It's all one big district, and it has the schools out policy to provide a workforce, and the workforce is for my farm just here, essentially. I did create this little village here, and then have the farm running up here, but the farm was using up so much, needed so many people that it just didn't work, having just this. So I created a little bridge to come over here to expand an area for additional workers to be able to fill up the farm, and then I managed to expand the farm ever so slightly because I had plenty of people available to send off as a workforce. So this is Daffodil Farm at the moment, and the name's going to change, but yeah, Daffodil District, so Daffodil Farm, I suppose. And you can see what I've tried to do is delete whatever pops up until I get these kind of field effects, these sort of yellow fields, so I can get these nice big yellow fields all linked together like that. And then we've got a nice big sort of shed here with a couple of silos on the side, like a combine shed or a tractor shed or equipment shed, whatever. But basically I just wanted to have these nice big solid blocks of field, so represent like a large crop field, for example. And it's worked out quite nicely. In some cases I've got some smaller ones, but until we get proper farming stuff made available for City Skylines, which would be in the Industries pack if and when that ever comes to consoles, then this is the best we can do in terms of creating a reasonably realistic looking farming area. Obviously there's a lot of buildings in here, a lot of farm traffic, and I've got a nice little animal section just over here, so you can see I've got a mixture of cows and pigs. Lots and lots of cows, you can hear them all mooing incessantly. And a couple of little, I think, forestry areas just here. I'm not quite sure. Maybe these are orchards, perhaps. Not entirely sure what these buildings are actually for. They come in different shapes. There's different versions of them. And then we've also got a lot of barn buildings, a couple of grain storage buildings, and so on and so forth. But yeah, there we go. There is Daffodil Farm. And when I created the little village just here, as soon as I got the farm up and running, I started getting a wealth of farm traffic running straight down through the middle, straight to the junction there, and just completely clogging up the junction. So I zoned this with a proper district painted tool and applied the no heavy traffic rule. So all the farm traffic can no longer come through here. So I needed another way to get that traffic out. So after going through this kind of lovely windy road through the trees like that into the farm itself, what I also did was then created this wonderful wooden bridge to go over the railway, and then this small little intersection just here for farm traffic, essentially, to get on and off the freeway. And then if anything does need to go to the docks, then it can come out and then go down, turn off, follow it round, and go onto the docks that way. And that's what the traffic has to do, because it's not allowed to go through the village. So this bridge, I think this bridge looks brilliant. I love these stone columns that it sits on, and then you can see the wooden planks all the way across there. You can even just about make out the rivets at the end of the plank sections where the bridge joins together. And it's a really, really nice kind of bridge effect. And if you're wondering how to get one, it's basically what happens when you try and create a raised bridge using these dirt roads. So instead of building a bridge like this, like that, where you get just a raised road with a concrete barrier, the barrier that goes around the edge, if you do it with dirt road instead, you actually get these stone columns and then a wooden bridge like that. It's just really cool. I really like that. And then once it gets back on the ground, it immediately becomes a dirt road again. It's just a really nice little visual, and I think that fits that farm entrance beautifully. And it's a great transition as well between the dirt roads of the farm and the concrete roads of the main roads just there. So it works really, really well, I think. And it's a brilliant way for farm traffic to come in and out. And then we've got the road that runs all the way along the side of the railway up here. And this is basically just another feed road. So we've got a way to get people in and out of this area here with a run straight to the off-ramp. And that again is so that all of this traffic here doesn't have to go out that way, or as I've just created as well, mainly for the garbage trucks. There's a route down into the industrial park just there. It stops all of the traffic basically coming over this bridge into the village, and then using the village exit there to get on and off the freeway. So that helps keep traffic under control, and it's worked really, really well so far. Really well indeed. So those are the major changes that I've made. There was one other major change as well, and that is my new water pumping area over here on the lake. Let's check the reservoir. You see what I mean? Even turning those extra faucets on, this is still draining way too quickly. Let me see what happens if I can... These don't seem to be turning off properly. They're still pumping. Even when they're both turned off, they still pump water out. I can't quite figure out what's going on over here. It's very strange. But basically, we've got Mushroom Lake over here, so called because of its shape. And I put a channel in just here with a few pumping stations for my main source of fresh water. So the pumping stations that I did have here in the little cove area over here, they've been removed now. and they've been relocated over to here. So we've got this channel here purely for pumping fresh water, and then we've got a channel here for pumping out treated water, as you can see, which then goes out here. And because there is a current, because this hill, or because this lake is on a hill essentially, and is the mouth of a river, the second it gets to this kind of area here, you can see that there is a current, and it just takes the water this way off the map, down the river and out to the sea. Which is great, because it means I can pump my dirty water out just here, right next to my intake for clean water, and they will never ever get in each other's way. Even though this is sucking water in here, you know, all this water here is being pulled down this way, and the second this dirty water comes down, it's immediately, you can see there, it's getting pushed across and then pulled down like that. And by the time it gets halfway down the river, it's already dissipated and gone. You can see from that visual, you can just about make out the dirty water, just a thin trail running down the centre of the river there. Very hard to tell. If I go to info views, that might be an easier way to show it. So let's go to water. There you can see the strength of the current. It's really, really strong, as you can see. So no issues with any kind of problems in that respect. If we go to pollution, here we go. You can barely see. You see all that water kind of immediately gets pushed across to this point just here, and then it gets pushed out that way, and it's pretty much dissipated as soon as it leaves the map. So it works really, really well. It works so well that I haven't had one single instance, despite the intake and outtake being so close to each other, haven't had a single instance of poisoned citizens in my city, where, you know, some polluted water has got into the intake feed. So yeah, that's the changes that I've made to the city so far. Major pumping area over here with 2 of these sort of pumping stations just here. 3 more water storage tanks, and then a little road. Even though this road isn't needed, I just wanted it to have the ability to actually go around the back of these water treatment facilities, because, you know, they wouldn't just be there with no way to access them. So that runs around there and then cuts through here. These are here on a temporary measure, these recycle plants, until I can figure out where to put my second sort of trash area. So they'll sit there for now. They're fine just there, and the whole area is powered by these 4 wind turbines as well. There's no power cables coming over here. These 4 wind turbines are actually getting a pretty decent amount of power. So you can see here, if I go to, where's the view I'm looking for? Is it showing me my wind speed? Yes, there we go. You can see these are actually, apart from that one on the end just there, these are all actually really well placed just here. Those 3 are, and then that one's kind of borderline from a really strong area to a not quite so strong area. So they produce more than enough power for this entire little area over here, and I think they just look pretty good, just like that. So there we go. My my main sort of pumping facility there, off the lake, and then we have obviously the reservoir as a backup facility. Look at that, look, even though I've turned both of these off, they're still draining water out, look. You can still see water being pulled in. The water level is still dropping. So it seems the only way I can stop them from pumping is to literally remove them. It's bizarre. I don't know why this is, you know, doing this now, but this has all happened since I built that facility over there. It completely screwed up how fast my water was either rising or falling inside the reservoir, and whereas I could usually keep it pretty constant, now it just, as you say, it either plummets down or it rises up way too quickly and floods out the entire valley. So I need to do a little bit more experimenting with the setup of number of pumps versus number of outlets, and see if I can find something that keeps a happy medium. Sometimes as well, when I run a day-night cycle, I tend to find that it can fluctuate during the day and night as to how quickly it rises and falls, as well as more or less water is consumed and used by the city. So a little bit of figuring out to do, but there we go. That is an update, basically, on the progress that I've made and how my city is coming along. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will be back with some more progress on my still unnamed city at some point very soon.